Hello and welcome back to the shop. Without further ado, let's just get right into it.
Hello, I'm Future John, and I'm here to let you know that this episode you're watching right now is going to be about making coasters. I'm also going to apologize on behalf of Past John for failing to mention that at the beginning of this video. This place looks really familiar. Have I ever been here before?
So like it is pretty much with every woodworking project, you start with rough lumber. Now this is just an offcut of cherry, I think. And then you do a series of laminations and whatnot, milling, lamination, and then resawing, and then trimming, and then edge profile. And you get it to this stage, which is pre-finished. And then you go through sandings, more sanding, and then maybe a little bit more sanding, and then many coats of finish when you finally get it to this stage in which it's got a nice beautiful sheen on it and it's ready for usage. So we're going to go step by step. This may take several episodes. I don't know. This is going to be very laid back and maybe not super polished, but hey, it's me. I don't know what you expect. So your first step is going to be lumber selection. Now, ideally, you're not going to be just picking up lumber and then milling it right away. You're going to purchase some lumber, you're going to let it dry, acclimate, so on and so forth, and then at that point, you're ready to use it. You really don't want to pull it off the shelf at the lumber store and then immediately start to mill it. So, I could be digging in these little scraps here, but I know that I've got several good pieces up here to choose from. And then I also have some over here. And so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first check out this stuff and then we'll see where we go from there. All right, so here's what we have on from this shelf up here. So we've got this piece of hard maple, and this has got sort of a knot bullseye sort of thing going on here. So I know this is going to be very figured and probably tough to mill, but I've got plenty of good real estate down here. So I'm pretty sure I want to use this. Then we've got, this is cherry, and I even wrote it on there. I don't know if you can see that. This is, so that's what we're looking at so far. So I've got two pieces of cherry and a piece of hard maple. Well, I need to add something to that mix. All right, so on this rack up here, I've got at least one piece for sure I know that I want to use. All right, so this board, it's about, I'd say about 42 inches long, roughly. This is Catalox. Again, I love Catalox, even though it is a demon to mill. It's about 5 inches wide and right around 7/8 of an inch in thickness. So I feel like through the milling process, if I add two pieces of this to the cutting board blank, then we should have the thickness that I'm looking for. All right, so we got our pieces. Now we just move to breaking everything down to roughly the correct size. Here's my usual process. First of all, I go ahead and I cross cut all of my pieces to right around 9 to 9.5 inches. Now that may seem like an arbitrary number, and it might very well be. But for me, that's how I know for sure that I'm going to get 2 rows of coasters out of one laminated block. So first of all, I'm going to cross cut down to 9 to 9.5 inches. And then I'm going to trim these to all roughly the same width. And I'm gonna have to use the Cadillacs board as my guide for that because it is obviously the narrowest. So let's get to cutting. Alright, so here are all our pieces to their rough length. So now we just have to make them all the same width. So the way that I'm going to do that is, well, these I'm good with. Those are pretty good. I'm going to run one edge of each one of these across the joiner just to give it a nice clean cut. And then we're going to go to the bandsaw and we'll do a straight line rip just to get them all to the right width. All right, let's get to it. All right, so we have everything roughed out to their approximate dimensions, and so you can kind of get an idea of how everything's going to look. So this is more or less the direction I'm going as far as a pattern. I've got the Cadillacs on the outside, then I've got 2 cherry, and then in the middle layer we've got the hard maple. This is all subject to change, but right now I feel pretty good about this. So the next step will be to continue the milling process and to get deep into it, which will include jointing a face and then an edge to get it square on each of these boards, followed by planing. So what we're going to do now is get set up at the joiner and start joining faces. And we're back. And what you didn't see was my jointer getting completely clogged full of wood chips and me having to stop and gut the whole thing, clean it out, and continue on with the joining process. Anyway, next step, let's head to the planer. All right, as you can see, we've got them nice and milled flat. They're on 3 sides, so now all we're gonna do is we're gonna rip these on the table saw and get them all to the same exact size. All right. And just like that, we've got us a block ready to be laminated. However, I want to let this sit overnight if it's going to move, it needs to move now, not while I'm trying to glue it. So we're going to let this sit for now, and we'll come back to this in the next episode.